Aw, you being such a nice girl. Hey, you being such a nice girl posing for the camera. Good day, welcome to Great White Retro. I'm Gord Fessick, this is my wife's cat Star, and inside this box is the LittleSixteen version 4 by Sukopera, fully assembled. I'll show you what this looks like at the end of the episode, but you're in for a treat as we try to replace all the remaining Commodore chips with modern versions. We try our darndest, so this machine can be built with almost all modern parts. Let's get her done.
Alright, before we get started, Sukopera made one revision to the bill of materials. R28 needed to be a 220 ohm resistor and not a 100 ohm resistor. With the smaller resistor, the SID chip had a chance of being distorted on one board or the other. Like, of my two builds, one chip would respond differently than the other. It turned out that either chip responded the same way on the same board, and I had to just replace this resistor. Now, I didn't have any 220 ohm resistors, and DigiKey was out of stock at the time, so I put a 100 and a 150 in series. That gives me 250 ohms, but that's still a dramatic improvement in the SID audio quality on both of these. So the quality that you heard on previous episodes, that's the quality I'm getting on both boards now, and that seemed to fix a lot of issues I had with the SID sound. These jumper pads here had to be set. They had to deal with the reset circuitry for the SID, and the recommended setting was to have them both set to the left or to this edge of the board, away from the joystick ports. So I'm going to set those quickly, and that should at least improve the consistency of the SID audio. Come on. There's one. There's two. Okay. Alright, let's at least make sure that S-Video is still working, that we still have a picture, and that we still have sound. Flash. Seems to be okay. This is supposedly from 1994, and it has some digital samples in here. Hello. Well, it did, anyway. Yeah, they were hacking into the reset vector there. Well, it's not doing you guys a whole lot of good, so I'm going to grab a new tool that I acquired for my laptop, and we'll see if this helps show things off a little bit better. What we have here is a USB capture device, and I'm going to hope that I can get this working on here without having to resort to things like Graph Studio and so forth. Alrighty, well, this is certainly interesting. Wonder if I can adjust this. Okay, let's see if I can get this to cooperate. No, I cannot. Oh no. Wonder if there's any options in the software itself here. Let's see. Yeah, video stack. Let's try the other PAL options here. Ah, here we go. A PAL M comes really close. We're just a little out of sync here. Alright, let's try with NTSC. Alrighty, well that's different, I'll give it that. That is the freakiest color. Alrighty, so let's just make sure that it's still working the way it's intended. I've got my 3.3K pack of resistors here. I've got my 6581 SID, voltage regulator, CPU, TED. So far, the original Commodore parts in here include the TED chip, the CPU, the SID, and the asynchronous serial I/O chip there, the ACIA. Let's try to modernize this a little further. And the first thing we're going to try is the ARM SID, which just came in. So we'll see how well this works out. First things first, I'm going to run the Guyana demo. You're not going to be able to see it because I cannot get video capture working well. And there we go, not bad. Okay, this is working out rather well. So let's try the ARM SID. According to the authors of the ARM SID, this is supposed to be a drop-in replacement for either the 6581 or the 8580. We are configured right now for a 6581, and it doesn't quite want to fit in the socket. Come on, there we go. We'll fire up the Guyana demo again. Okay. It is working. The audio seems a little softer to me. Now, I'm not going to be able to adjust the settings of the ARM SID on a +4. I'm going to have to install this chip in a Commodore 64 and use the utilities to manage it there. I'll ask the author of the ARM SID and I'll ask Sucopera to see if they can adapt this for the Little16. It's the exact same registers, just in a different memory location. It sounds a little muffled, like it's an 8580 SID, but that's okay. Yeah, definitely muffled a bit. Now, I am curious about something. I'm going to pull the voltage regulator. I want to see if the ARM SID even needs that. Okay, it still needs the regulator. All right, let's put that back in there. All right, so it must be using that for part of its amplifiers or some such. It's only mildly warm. It's not toasty like the 6581 was. Okay, let's now see how digital audio sounds. Okay. All right. Digital audio is working just fine, so it looks like it's emulating an 8580, but with the audio fixes, like a 6581. Very interesting. The next step in building the +4 of Theseus is putting in a different ACIA chip here. But I picked up a pair of Rockwell 6551 parts. I am hoping to see if this will replace the Commodore part. and still be compatible with +4 peripherals that make use of the RS-232 interface. Alright, so that's a Rockwell part. Alright, and I have Diag264 set as the firmware, and I've got shift lock on. This should bypass the joystick port and keyboard tests, and should still test everything else. Let's see how this goes. Okay, there's the normal diagnostics. Okay, basic okay, function ROMs okay, firmware okay, keyboard skip, RS-232 port, interrupts, okay. Alright, now I have no idea if this is going to work with any real +4 modems that use the RS-232 port, but at least it passes Diag264. Okay, next one's going to be a little tricky. I ordered the recommended 8501 to 6502 adapter here, and I ordered this direct from PCBWay, and they even did the surface mount assembly for me. The only thing I had to do was source and program the GAL part here, and now I have to source a 6502. I have a couple of options open to me. I've got a 1541 controller board I can snag the processor off of here. But after we do that, I'm going to try out a Western Design Center 6502. I'll need to do some modifications to make the WDC part work, but first let's make sure that the adapter works. We'll use a somewhat standard 6502 part. Let's remove the 8501. This adapter board will not quite fit with me having heat sinks on top of the TED, so I added an extra row of sockets on top of here. I don't know if that's going to complicate matters. We'll just make sure that pin 1 is lined up. Okay, and there's still a little bit of clearance there. I've already programmed this GAL part the same way I programmed the other GALs. Okay. Well then, here goes nothing. I still have Diag264 enabled, so it'll do some processor tests as well. We'll see how that goes. Oh, there we go. It just took a little while. Alright, Diag264 is doing its low RAM tests. Seems to have passed. It doesn't seem to be complaining. Well, this is encouraging. Okay, so let's try out some of the tougher games that beat up on any kind of 8501 adapter. Okay, audio is working. So far, so good. Encouraging. See if I still remember how to play this. It is too easy to die if you're not paying attention. There we go. Well, we're not on fire yet. Oh, right, get the turret. All right, that's pretty encouraging, actually. Let's see what Tetris has to say. It sounds different, I'll give it that. Okay, just for comparison, let's plug the original SID back in because I remember that sounding a lot different. There we go. Let's put that back. Yeah, it sounds different. Yeah, it sounds very different. Well, this might be a matter of personal preference for folks. I don't know. Before I try putting in a WDC part, there are a handful of pins that are different. I knew this going in, so I'm going to attempt to reproduce David Murray's solution, which involves bending up one pin and then pulling up another pin. We'll see how well that works. But what he's got is he's got pin 1 bent up. And then from the back, he's got 40, 39, 38, 37, 36 bent up as well. And then he's got one pin tied high, so pin 1 is left disconnected. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to do a pull-up resistor between here and pin 8. Okay. This is supposed to take care of some signal dependencies. Okay, let's make sure that all the metal is away from the board. Well, here goes nothing. It is not doing anything. Oh, yeah. Oh, so I was 1 pin short. It wasn't 6, it was 5. Okay, and making sure that my screen is on this time, let's try one more time. Hey, there we go. Okay, so we've got a picture. We are sitting at basic. Let's try this. Diag mode here. Okay, Diag 264 has started. I have the shift lock on, so it should bypass the keyboard and joystick tests. Function high, function low, keyboard, cassette bad, COM port bad. That's not good.
In the process of troubleshooting that adapter board, I wound up damaging some pins on the CPU socket. As a consequence, I aborted my tests of the 6502 adapter board. The end result was that the adapter board worked, but the cassette port stopped working. I could still play Pet's Rescue and other things off of the SD to IEC, but the WDC part would come up as device not ready when trying to access the SD to IEC device. I'll have to come back to this when I have a better solution. Let's finally get to the assembly of the case. This case takes the original Commodore LED for the power indicator, but the modern 5mm LEDs won't fit in this case since it was based on the original Commodore molds. As a consequence, I'm having to file this LED down to fit. I just went and did this. I also roughed up all of the other edges to kind of give the top of it a bit of a film so it didn't look quite as bright, although these LEDs are pretty bright. It didn't seem to affect the operation of the computer. There we go, got that to fit. And now that I got that to fit, it's time to fasten some wires to it. I've got my quad hands here and I am preparing a connector to go onto the pin header for the power LED. After getting that connector to fit, I put it in there. I'll solder some wires there. I've already got the leads tinned on the wires themselves, and we'll get the wires now soldered to there. I'm going to use some heat shrink to cover up those exposed leads. I'll use the larger heat shrink wrap to cover the entire assembly. And don't worry, I made sure to load heat shrink tubing onto there before doing the other end, which involved doing the two ground pins together and then the signal pin by itself. The connection can go either way, that's why these pins are the same on the outer edges and then the middle one is used for the actual LED. I actually assembled one of these already, but the cable was way too short. Oops. Let's make sure that the LED works. And it does. It's pretty bright compared to a Commodore 64 LED, but that's okay. Let's get the computer into its case. I'm going to do all of the corner screws except for the left and right bottom corners. I need to tape up this metal bracket, otherwise it's going to short against the space for those surface mount diodes. I hope a future revision moves those pads to somewhere else. This is the top half of the case. We'll just stick the new power LED in there until it snaps into place. Then I'll try to bend that out of the way so that it fits in the case and around the keyboard. Now let's get the keyboard attached, and let's get the power LED built. We'll set that aside, and since this case has the keyboard set on the bottom part of the case, we need to fasten that first. It's quite different from the bread bin cases that the C16 and original Commodore 64 used. We'll make sure the LED works again. There it goes. We'll seal everything up. Now we've got some custom labels here done by JTH3D. I'll provide a link in the video description, but it's a Facebook link, so Facebook will insist that you join if you use it. Otherwise, I'll provide a direct email address or some other contact means. And speaking of contacts, I use contact cement to attach this label. After putting it on there and letting it dry for 15 minutes, I come back and I attach the label to the case. For some reason, these labels were just slightly too long. I had to come back here and snip the end of it. I gave him an original label. I don't know why these things were printed longer than the original label was. But after removing that, it did fit. And there we go. It's a real computer now. Nice job. That keyboard and the other keyboard for the other machine was retrobraided and clear-coated. I was going to try to show a demonstration of how to do that with my Commodore 16 keyboard, but it did not turn out very well. I'll have to show you what happened in a future episode. Let's try one of my favorite games for this platform.
And here it is, the computer of the mid-1980s, the LittleSixteen version 4. And it's about darn time, too. I think the longest wait was getting the labels done for it. I'd like to reach out to JTH3D right here in the Midwest. I'll post a link to his site and email in the video description, so you too can have custom labels made. Now it's crunch time, however. I'm not going to be at the Shawano County Fair in 2025. A lot of things got in my way for that one. I will be at VCF Midwest in mid-September, however. I'll be joining the Wisconsin Computer Club, and you'll see Alex and myself and a good chunk of the WCC there, where you will get to see the LittleSixteen version 4 up close. If time permits, I'll try to construct a third board so that you can see what the insides look like. Also, you notice there's only one machine here. That's because the other machine is over in Oregon in possession of Jim Wright. He reached out to me and agreed to put together a LittleSixteen version of Attack of the Petsky Robots. So I'm hoping to see TED graphics, SID sound, and taking advantage of the extra RAM on here. And we'll see how that goes. Thanks so much, Jim, and for payment, he took one of the two LittleSixteens. So I'm grateful for that. Hopefully it's not too much of an extra work since it is just an additional port of the +4 version. Hope to see you guys at VCF Midwest. Until then, good day.